The next speaker is Oscar Fuentes. He's engineer at the National Center of Prehistory. It's a center, specific center in charge of the politic of the state in order to preserve and study rock art, Pleistocene rock art, and not only Pleistocene rock art. Probably Oscar will tell you a little bit. And they are in charge to preserve all the archives coming from the cave. The idea is the cave art maybe will be in some decades destroyed. It will be the case of Kosker Cave, for example, and all the films, images, pictures coming from the cave are tracing, of course, are very, very important and have to be preserved, as well as the monument itself. But Oscar is also a specialist of rock art, specialist of human figure and alterity and in figuring humans.
That's right. Thank you. Hi. I have to. I will try to speak English correctly. Jean-Michel, you speak very well, so I will try to make an effort. And so I write my presentation to be clear. So I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation and speak at the name of all the team of Centre National Préhistoire. I'm not alone. We are 6 people work here around Geneviève Pinson, who's the lead of the service. The National Center of Prehistory is a service of the French administration of Ministry of Culture. By the work we do in Centre National Préhistoire, we'd like to present the policy in French regarding the study, conservation, and promotion of decorated heritage, such caves, open-air sites, and rock shelters. So we are in Périgueux. So if you have the time to go to Périgueux city, so a very nice city. The Centre National de Préhistoire has its main mission the implementation and promotion of the national policy for caves and decorated sites. It's also working on archiving and transmitting resources related to this heritage for all concerned community. Researchers, administrative managers, site owners, conservation, and local authority, and the public also. Through this presentation, we aim to share with you the tools and action carried out with this framework of this policy, which are implementing for archaeological research, conservation, and the promotion of this exceptional heritage. Jean-Michel Jeunesse made a very good, very complete presentation, and it's excellent because I don't have to speak about that. But rock art site, in particular decorated cave, like Jean-Michel told, constitute an extremely fragile and precious heritage that has preserved many traces of the past. This is a heritage that must be understood, studied, and passed on to the future generations, especially actually in the context of climate change that directly impact these sites. For the record, Centre National de Préhistoire documenting site, Paleolithic site. So the corpus decorated caves include 190 sites in France, out approximately for 400 known sites in the space that Jean-Michel Geneste talked about in Eyzies and Pleistocene period. The majority of these Pleistocene sites are located in France and between France and Spain. And notable examples include the site that you will visit during this week, here in Vallée-Vézère, but also in Ardèche, Lot, and other valleys in Europe. Beyond the Paleolithic, France also has a similarly significant heritage of rock art sites, particularly in most recent period, in mountain context, like Mont Bégaud, for example, on a large expanse of engraving rocks, like those we know now in Fontainebleau, near Paris, for example, or megalithic sites, as well as in overseas territory like French Guiana or Guadeloupe. We have also a lot of rock art sites that CNP work also with the French administration of this territory. This represents a very vast context of decorated sites, not only caves, but also a landscape rock art site. Here, I would like to show you the one example of this problematic. Is a Mamilipan open air in Mamilipan, the Mamilipan sites in south of Guyana. It's an open air site, a rock shelter. This case of Mamilipan is very interesting because it clearly illustrates the diversity of policy or diversity of situations. Here, the site is located in Amazon rainforest, directly in relation with Wayana population, who the French government has to work close to manage the policy of the access of the site. The French State Service, la Direction of Cultural Affairs, so engage a close discussion with Wayana people to build we talk about co-construction with local people, the access, conservation, and management policies. And also with research, because here you have, in French we call relevé. Relevé is tracing, and Wayana people make tracing with us to understand the figures. So there were a very interesting experience of tracing, conservation, and interpretation also with the site. In particular, decorated caves are fragile sites that pose a real conservation challenge as soon as they are discovered. We can recall the example of Lascaux Cave, discovered in 1940 and opened to the public in 1948, after a significant modification to allow for tourist visit. A victim of overvisitation and numerous alterations, its natural balance was severely disrupted, putting a parietal painting in danger. For this reason, André Malraux, the Minister of Culture at the time, decided to close the cave to the public in 1936. The cave, 33. The cave has been listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1979. At several reflection process to save the cave. Decision made by the Scientific Council, chaired by Professor Yves Coppens, lead to important choices, such as protecting the cave by moving the public to a replica located at a distance in order to avoid any risk of degradation around the forest massif. It also decided to make the site accessible to the public through the construction of a facsimile before Lascaux 2 and now Lascaux 4. Another important decision made by the scientific committee was to create a digital simulator for the Lascaux cave, allowing the modeling of the cave's underground microclimate. The Lascaux simulator was developed using a 3D model of the cave based on a computational fluid dynamics code adapted to this particular environment. Led by Delphine Lacanette, this project makes it possible to simulate the impact of varied factors on the cave, such as human presence and the effect of climatic change according to the IPCC models. Regarding in the context of decorated sites, the National Center of Prehistory participates in promoting the agreement that exists between French Ministry of Culture on the side and, for example, a French research ministry by CNRS. So a lot of agreement between these different ministries. Through this agreement, one aspect of the national policy on rock art is implemented, which involves coordinating and overseeing research as part of national operation. We have in France a national operation of archaeological research, like in Chauvet, in Vallon-Pont d'Arc, the cave for which we are celebrating this year the third anniversary of this cover, was inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage list in June 2014. It is globally renowned for the exceptional aesthetic quality and antiquity of this wall painting, dated around, like Jean-Michel said, 37,000 years old and 38,000 years old. The Chauvet Cave, as a part of National Archaeological Mission led by Ministry of Culture, is the subject of a multidisciplinary research led by Carole Fritz. It's a French prehistorian and CNRS, is the CNRS of researchers. An editorial program accompanies the publication surrounding this cave, including the publication of the Atlas of the Chauvet Cave. It was the first publication. And this publication constitutes the first volume of a national caves monography managed by French Ministry of Culture. This atlas precisely describes the cave soils and underground environment. This is an essential preliminary step before the publication of parietal art. To understand the parietal art, it's necessary to analyze the context of archaeological remains as well as the evolution of the underground landscape on time. The study of Chauvet Cave is a prime example of a scientific and conservation monitoring of caves carried out by French government. Decorated caves are approached as natural archives, preserving evidence of human activity over time. Rock art sites require multidisciplinary scientific approach, considering, for example, the stratigraphy position of each natural and anthropogenic element to understand the event that occur over time. The discovery of Chauvet Cave in 1094 allowed the revelation of an archaeological environment that had remained almost intact since the Paleolithic time, with numerous archaeological traces on floor. It was therefore necessary to develop a strategy that would alter the cave's floor as little as possible, which had been sealed by rockfall 21,000 years old. This approach was dictated by the need to preserve the cave, natural balance of the cave, and underground climate, and to limit access to those responsible for conservation and archaeological research. Other important discoveries have been made since Chauvet Cave in France. For example, the Cussac Cave in Dordogne, which is another national operation. So all this research field, Cussac, Chauvet, but also Cosquer Cave now, participate to build a reflection of a national politic of cave of rock art site. The National Center of Prehistory coordinates the publication of a guide on the best practice for decorated site in underground environment, proposed by the French Minister of Culture. This guide enabled those involved with decorated caves to understand the recommendation for to allow for various situations, ranging from expert assessment to organized research. This work was carried out with a lot of partners, a lot of a construction with a lot of people. For example, with the DRAC, Regional Direction of Cultural Affairs, and another person, for example, to LRMH, it's a Historical Monument Research Laboratory. If you want to consult this guide, it's all in French, but you can go to the Ministry of Culture website and you find it. This guide covers several topics, even beyond managing rock art site. It addresses various points, such as how to anticipate the discovery for decorated sites, how to report the discovery, specify the process of authenticity and archaeological discovery, and how to make an official and public announcement of this discovery without putting in danger the site. Other chapters of the manual are dedicated to the safety of those involved with decorated sites, particularly in the context of access of underground environment, progression within them, and the potential risk encountering in caves. Finally, this methodological guide helps clarify the national policy for the protection of sites and its environment. It defines the vulnerability perimeter of the site, whether in caves or in open-air context over large areas. It reiterates the regularity. I have to drink something, I think. 2 minutes. Sorry, I forget my water. No, it's perfect. Sorry. So this manual help to provide a reference for essential data to be collected concerning the state of conservation at a given time and the site's user patterns. It offers guidance on preventive conservation and address measures to be taken in case of issue as well as possible solutions. Other national archaeological operations in decorated caves illustrate this approach to manage such heritage. This is the case, for example, of the Cosquer Cave in Marseille, in south of France. The Cosquer Cave, really near of Marseille. If you go to Marseille one day, you go to near to the Calanque, a very, very pretty space area. The Cosquer Cave is actually a semi-submerged and by the overseas and fully impacted by rising sea level. Access of the cave is extremely difficult, extremely constraining, required a dive to a depth of 36 meters below the sea and navigation through a narrow siphon. Furthermore, the cave is situated in a seismically active area and as evidenced by the fracturing of element and stalagmite inside the cave. The initial conservation efforts focus on understanding the functioning of this cave in relation to its environment to better guide intervention method, ensure its preservation, and support the research program, the research team actually, led by Cyril Montoya. Certain decorated panels, for example, the famous panels of horses, are directly impacted by rising water levels and also face pollution risk to the located of Marseille, of cave, because the Cosquer Cave is located in a heavily frequented coastline, and they're immediately proximity to Marseille, which is a city of 1 million of inhabitants. The French state has therefore encouraged urgent documentation of this cave by supporting the ongoing archaeological operation take place within it. This operation must also focus not only on parietal art, but also on the floor of the cave, where numerous archaeological remains are likewise suffering from rising water levels. One of the strategies chosen by the French government and with Centre National de Préhistoire participate to make it possible, has to be the cave, digitize the cave in 3D to create a digital replica. We talk about a digital 3D clone of the model of the cave, enabling research and conservation action to be carried out through this digital reproduction. We talk about 3D ecosystem. Thus facilitated not only research management in connection with the multidisciplinary archaeological operation, but also the long-term archiving and storage of an archaeological site threatened by climate change. This approach to protection and establishment of a perimeter around decorated sites is now being systematically implemented and can be observed at numerous sites in France, both in cave and open-air location. For instance, this is the case with the Volpe caves in Ariège, in south France, including, for example, the Touques de Doubert, which is a sculpture in clay. Archaeological research conducted at rock art site must consider these environmental scales and is inseparable from a conservation approach. So research and conservation are closely linked. In the context of research, the study of rock art site required the creation of high-quality documentation, particularly for conducting tracing study of these images. There were in Centre National de Préhistoire a national study of this method to study rock art site, and it were highlighted two main trends in rock art tracing. One approach aimed to reproduce the surfaces using a graphical method, while the other method focused not on reproduction of the imaging, but on transcribing the surface, similar to a map using a graphic charter. These two operational methods, in the context of 3D technologies, generate their own technical innovation, but also their own limitation. Therefore, in addressing the use, contribution, and limitation for 3D in the study of prehistoric art, it is essential to clearly identify the context in which these 3D tools have been applied. Other consideration is the spatial dimension. The spatial dimension is carried out through the use of geographic information system, GIS, which are now essential for putting elements into perspective relative to one another, cross-referencing information from various fields, and better understanding the qualities of a space at different scales. Geographic information system enable the production of maps of different scales, for which the development of a common and reference cartographic standard is essential, such as the one proposed to UNESCO for the mapping of sites listed on the World Heritage List and the buffer zone of these sites. The national policy implemented in France also focused on the enhancement of this heritage. Caves and decorated shelters open to the public are monitoring for their tourist attendance to ensure it's aligned with the capacity of the site. Reduction in the number of visitors to the original site sometimes is necessary, as was the case at the Fondrum Cave, where the number of visitors has halved between 2008 and 2009. Thus, facsimile on caves have emerged as alternative to open the decorated site to the public. Jean-Michel Jeunesse talked about this. The most famous cave are now present to the public through replica in France, as in the case with, I show another one, not only Chauvet and Coscar, but also the Roc-aux-Sorciers rock shelter in Angles-sur-l'Anglin. Actually, for this national operation, archaeological national site, we have also replica. Roc-aux-Sorciers, here, Lascaux for Chauvet Cave with Chauvet 2, Chauvet 2, and Coscar Méditerranée also. For each replica, a thoughtful adaptation has been made to restore the cave as closely as possible to its original reality. But maybe later we will discuss of different choices made by this replica. Prehistoric artists and contemporary copies such of prehistoric and artists like Gilles Tozello on left, on image right, and Alan Dalis here, for example, of the work of copy and make replica. In case where access to the site was not possible to work on replica, like Lascaux or Cave, artists work solely or mostly on with 3D digital data to create reproduction. Beyond this live site replica, not only replica in site, the French Ministry of Culture has also implemented a digital system allowing people to discover these decorated sites through a large variety of platforms on internet, for example, to make virtual visit. Maybe we can give you the website of les grands sites archéologiques. You can find a lot of virtual visit of Chauvet, Cosquer, and another sites. So you talk about that also, Michel. Similarly, the 3D digital data of caves can be made available to producers or filmmakers to highlight these digital resources. 3D films, such as the most recent one created in 2015 by Pascal Magontier and written by the prehistorian Jean-Michel Jeunesse, are another example of this. While we wait the development on the future, maybe, of metaverse dedicated of decorated cave and immersive and remote 3D digital approach, this kind of virtual visit need to be invented for the future, even through some multiplayer augmented reality experience are now developing. And we can talk about artificial intelligence, AI. In conclusion, it is important to emphasize the need to adapt conservation effort in relation to the specificity on the site and its environment. It's also crucial to ensure the longevity of sharing of research data so that all stakeholders, from professionals to the general public, can benefit from it. Moreover, diversifying the digital access method to this sometimes inaccessible and endangered heritage is vital to ensure the best possible conservation for future generations. Today, there is an audience interested in decorated sites who seek the experience sometimes unique. For example, Lascaux 4 and Chauvet 2 each received more than 3,050 visitors per year. And Cosquer Méditerranée, which opened most recently in 2022, has already welcomed near 1 million of visitors. We are thus entering of a new area, new era, new age of cultural tourism in underground spaces. Thank you for attention and apologize for my English.